Hello there, it's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. Welcome back. Also want to say big hello to my buddies, a couple of my buddies, Francesco Manfredi, who's out in Italy, who's very kind and has been dropping me comments over the years, and then also Mike Spicer. How you doing? And also a good buddy that's been watching the program here, so thank you very much. And today I'm going to kind of take up where I left off from last week, going over sort of basics of what every musician should know. You could watch that in the previous video. So last week was just good old-fashioned scales and major scales, fingering, diatonic triads, diatonic seventh chords, inversions, arpeggios, just meat and potatoes stuff. If you're vegetarian like I am, then you just have more potatoes, which is fine because who doesn't like potatoes? But once you know what to play, then you have to know how to play it, right? How to voice it, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So I'm gonna start with my favorite type of voicing, the shell voicing. I do have some videos on these. Here's a voicing. Instead of just playing A minor 7, D7, G major 7, right? We play root 3rd, 7th, 9th, right? Writing one extra note to the chord. Root 7th, 3rd, 13, root 3rd, 7th, 9th. So it sounds like this. All right? That doesn't sound too bad. It's a bit, for my taste, it's a bit low. The other one thing you could do to modify it, you could take the A and play it an octave lower. Still a bit low for my taste. You could play it an octave higher, or add the 10th, I still think that's not quite the right voicing for that register. A better voicing would be this voicing, right? So what we've done, rather than going root 3rd, 7th, 5th, we're going to go root 7th, okay? So instead of a 3rd, a 7th, and a 3rd, we're going to do a 7th, a 3rd, and a 7th. So A, G, D, F sharp, right? And then G, F sharp, right? So A, G, D, F sharp, and G, F sharp, right? So that's A minor 7, D7, G major 7, and it looks like this. And of course, the D chord, I just did the left hand here. Let me do the right hand. Pardon me. C and E. D, F sharp, C, E again, and then here you have B and D, B and D. So that's, again, A minor 7, D7. I'm going to move this over. D7 with an added 9th. The 9th is the E. And then the, so yeah, the function of the notes change when the roots change. So G, F sharp, B, D, G, major 7. And then the pattern continues, and you'd have G minor 7 here. Okay, and you'd go on to do 2, 5, 1 in G. So that voicing is more suitable for this part of the piano, I think. And 10th, and especially grab it with the pedal with your foot, right? Grab it with my foot, right? Roll the chord. I'm not going to reach that with my hand. Some guys can. I'm not going to do it. My health insurance wouldn't cover it. Now that one I can reach because I I'm kind of getting on that lip of the key there, and I play in the corners, and I can play pretty reliably like that, you know, and I pedal each time I play that. Or you could do, right, I could switch. Say, hey, look at that. See, be creative with the fingering, right? I could just do my right hand, watch. See, I could switch my fingers instead of just doing 2 notes. Or I could just do that. So think about that, you know, adjust that to your hand. Here's a song. Okay, we've done this before, but How High the Moon. Here's our voicing. Either one. Right. So that's our So that's an example. How about though? What about my first example where I play like that? Well, I have this online, the Satin Doll, right? I mean, it's perfectly serviceable, but it doesn't sound like I'm really a piano player. But I still might not. But if I go root, 3rd, 7th, 9th. That sounds a whole lot better. Root, 7th, 3rd, 13, 9th. Those are some nice notes. See, that's where your root, 3rd, 7th, 9th, root, 3rd, 7th, 9th, root, 7th, 3rd, 13. D minor 9, G 13. E minor 9, A 13. A, G, C sharp, F sharp. And then that's A minor 7, flat 5, D7, 2, 5, and G minor. A flat minor 7, D flat 7, 2, 5, and G flat. Deceptive cadence. And then it goes to C. And again, I don't have to do the 3rd, I can play the 10th. And I don't have to stick on the 7th, I can move down to the 6th and back up. I often do that. Or that's nice to do, you know. What did I do? Now watch. See? Or, right? Or these are all slight variations of the chord where you're kind of playing in the cracks. That's where you get some interesting sounds once you learn the basics. And you use your ears. So, what you need to be able to do is 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. Right, and then you go up a half step or down a half step. 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1. Go up here. 2, 5, 1. That's just that one voicing, and then the other one. Okay. That's too low now. Okay. That's going to help your playing. If you just know, if you just know just that one way to voice a chord, you can play a whole lot of music, especially solo. You know, anybody else. Now the other way, which we've talked about before, are the rootless voicings, and again they're called rootless because we don't think of them as having a root. So, for instance, if I'm playing in a band, or if I'm playing, I'm soloing, or I'm playing the melody, I'm probably not going to play that, and I'm probably not going to play that. I probably might play something like this. Right? That's going to be closer to what I might play, you know, just in general. All right. It's a rootless voicing. Why? Because this is a G major 7 chord, but there's no G in there, right? There's no G in my right hand. Who's playing the G? The bass player's playing the G. So I'm building the chord on the 7th. 7th, 9th, 3rd, 5th. Now, again, that's just, you know, I have some latitude. I could add a 6th there or not, you know, but that's the basic chord. 7th, 3rd, 7th. That's 2, 5, 1, G, C, F. Right? So that's just one basic iteration of it. The other one, where you rather than building the chord on the 7th initially, you're building it on the 3rd of the chord. And I kind of call this closed position, and then I kind of call this open position. Just because the chord's opened up, all right? In this instance, those words mean something a little different. But so again, it's a matter of voicing. I would probably not play the chords that way because it isn't quite right for that area of the keyboard, okay? You can hear how muddy that is. I would probably opt for something more like that, all right? But, you know, in the right hand, now, when you're practicing these voicings, as you can see, you want to play them in both hands. You want to play in the right hand, and you want to play them in the left hand. So you know, you practice your roots up a 4th, down a 5th. This is with the left hand, right? And then with the right hand, and then with the left hand, and the right hand. And you practice these, you arpeggiate them. Now, I happen to be repeating the top note, but that's something that I would do if I was improvising, maybe. Something like that, you know, or so you get ideas for soloing. Or both hands. Right, that's the close position. There's no root, right, in those chords. Okay, so that's the two areas of voicings that over the years I just felt like, you know, they were really the most important. If you didn't really know those voicings, you're just going to have a rough time of it. You know, if you want to play music and you want to play jazz, and you saw me, you know, arpeggiating them as well as doing block chords and doing them in both hands. So that's pretty important. Okay, so and we talked about the chord patterns, right? The 2-5-1. But there's other patterns that are important, kind of similar in a way that relate to the 2-5-1. So usually, what happens after you get to 1? Well, you kind of start, usually you start over again, right? How do you get there? You usually use the 6th chord. So the pattern is, let's just say, you know, D minor 7, G7, C. Let me write over here just a second. D minor 7, G7, C major 7, and then and then maybe and then A7, right? So you have 2, 5, 1, and then that's the 6th chord. Now the 6th chord, you know, the diatonic 6th chord in the key of C, the diatonic 6th chord is A minor 7. That's the lowercase Roman numeral 6. That chord is the artificial chord, right? It still works because the root works, but 2, 5, 1, 6, right? Or 2, 5, 1, 6. That works okay too, but in jazz we tend to play the dominant more like that. And if you're going to, you know, use your voicings, let's say, what did I do there? Close position, open position. So that was in C. And then right? That's a fun little exercise. So you're actually doing the 2, 5, 1 twice, but with 2 different types of voicings back to back. That's the 13, the B13, the 6th chord in the key of D. The other option is that, but I don't think I want to do that in this instance because I want to be able to get to that voicing. E minor 9, A13, C major 9, F13, E minor 9, A13, D major 9, adding the 9. Whenever I say 9, you know, it includes the 7th, okay? And whenever I say 7th, it could include the 9, you know, if we're talking about jazz. Now, so a turnaround, that's what we call a turnaround, all right? That's or you could start on 1, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. I mean, that's pretty common. But there's another thing that's common that's maybe not quite as common. 6, 6, 2, 5, 1. Now, when would you encounter that? Well, guess what? That is how Jerome Kern wrote the great song All the Things You Are. All the things you are. I'm not going to write you are. Okay, I'm going to write you are. But F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, A flat major 7. Here, that's your 2, 5, 1 in A flat, okay? In the key of A flat. This is the, whoops, a little dyslexic there. That's the 6th chord, okay? 2, 6, 2, 5, 1. That's why one reason why the song's so important to learn. And here's my shell voicings. Root. Now the next chord happens to be D flat major 7. It goes up a 4th. And ends up in C. Very unusual modulation from the key of A flat. A flat to C. And then you have it again. So you have you have from E flat to C. Was it E flat to C? No, wait. Then 6, 2, 5, 1. Yeah. So from E flat to G. Up a major 3rd, just like before. A flat, C, E flat, G. That's all the things you are in kind of a nutshell, right? It's key of A flat, C, E flat, G. It almost sounds the same, doesn't it? But that would be a very good exercise to do. The all the things you are exercise, G. So A flat, maybe start C. E flat, I'm not sure what I would do. C, and then G. I'm trying to figure out like a little broken chord pattern. A flat. That would be good. Yeah, okay, there we go. So there's our exercise. A flat, root position. C in second inversion. E flat in first inversion, and then G in root position. And if you could practice that on all 12 keys, but that's all the things you are. So that's why that, one reason why that tune is so important, just, and getting that in your ear, the displacement, the word's displacement, the way the tonic, the cadence is shifted over. So, because typically we start, in general, right, we start with the tonic chord if we're playing in a key. If we're playing in the key of C, we start in C. If we're playing in jazz, we usually start D minor 7, G7, C, but it's still going towards C. This is even ratcheted sideways a little bit more, so we're going 6, 2, 5, 1. So we're pulling the bow on the bow and arrow. We're pulling it back even a little bit farther before we launch the arrow. So that's what's behind that. Yes, integrating the chords, the chord patterns, and the scales. So one last thing before we go. Once you know those chord patterns, you could use any of the voicings, any of the inversions, and combining the scales and the chords together. Okay, so this. So just doing 2, 5, 1, starting on C in the right hand. We're in the key of C. A flat, G flat, or F sharp. Right. Hard to hear down here, but okay, maybe just use roots. Then doing a mode. What am I doing? I'm playing the C major scale starting on the 5th degree. That sounds more like improvisation. And maybe not just doing steps, maybe doing thirds, and then A flat. I just added that little decoration there. Or that sounds actually better with the half step. Yeah. Now I kind of broke the rule there, but it sounded more interesting. Okay, that's where you get the interesting lines from the jazz lines. Same thing with the left hand, fingering, as you can see, is a little problematic, but what are we doing here? I haven't thought this through exactly, but you can see I could even use some practice. And then, of course, you could do what was I going to do here? Well, I think that's enough. I think that's enough for that. I mean, you could do any number of modes. That's starting on the third, let's say, or starting on the second. It has to sound musical, though. That's really the key. If you're doing some of these exercises and you're experimenting, you know, you want them to sound musical and useful. You don't just want to do an exercise just because you can, but it doesn't. It's not making music. You always want to be making music. Well, I think we're getting down to the wire here, but I do welcome your comments. If you want to go to thepianolesson.com, and you can contact me through there, thepianolesson.com, thepianolesson.com. I don't think anyone ever goes to that website anymore. But just before I go, I had a lovely time last Friday night at a new jazz club in town called Conway's. Yes, Conway's. I got lost going there, so be careful, but it's kind of out in the Clackamas neighborhood on 82nd Drive. Not 82nd Avenue, but if you take 82nd Avenue all the way out, then I think it turns into 82nd Drive. And it's a really nice club. I mean, I was very impressed. The sound is fantastic. The owner, Jim Conway, spent a lot of effort making the acoustics really good, and they are. And they have a real good piano there, real nice Yamaha piano in tune, real nice set of drums, real nice stage, real nice sound system, nice bar, nice tables, nice napkins. Oh my God, the toothpicks are incredible. So good bathrooms, very good bathrooms, good soap, nice liquid soap. All right, well, I'm off in more ways than one, and we'll see you next time. Take care.